Hello, 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 hello. We are here with a watch party. Turn it off.
I'm not going to take that risk anymore. But because they knew the B site was open, they had FRZ in such an aggressive position. And that spot, well, there's only two agents that's ever going to work on, and, well, Reyna is one of them. So he manages to escape, and then he has Sadek to support him. And just a really well-recovered round from Vikings, from one that was looking incredibly shaky after that early pick.
I'm surprised at Munchkin's 20 and 15 in this series as well. Like, mechanically, he's sound. We usually see him on duelists are there to support off. The Viper's Pit is going to be used, and GTN just watching off of it. Interesting that they've stuck both those kind of players in the same spot, actually. But it's still working out. FRZ's pushing up on A. He's not really going to find much information, which is still workable. I don't know how he's going to deal now that he has the whole squad head in his direction. He has that dismiss, but that's a lot of ground to cover. Bazi's just ahead of everybody else. There's no trade. Nobody's even ready to sort of peek and follow through. The fact that Crazy Raccoon are not expecting these kind of plays is a problem, because that is just, if you're up against Arena, expect that.
Especially when you've just looked at the rest of the round. Like, they've got Viper's Pit on one spot, they've got a wall blocking the other spot. There's only one other place that players can realistically be, and it's aggressive on A. Now, there's no point, again, will come through. Will reduce the ability, well, for their opponent's abilities, and they're actually going to use the Viper's Pit. There's already a lot invested into this round. I don't know how much of a counter there's going to be here from Vikings.
Might just be a case of wait. The tippy toes are going to be seen on that one. GTN, that's a nice kill onto Munchkin from distance. There's no supporting utility there, but there wasn't much left from Munchkin at the end of the day either. Sassy now trying to push on through. Neff is holding that line. Just in this meander of different smokes, he's looking to ace it.
This is a big round from Neth. He's managed to find the timing twice to pull off multiple double kills, and it's left all onto Sidikas, and he's just looking for exits. He's trying to kill them all off as they try and exit the site, and the fact is Fisker is dead here.
Yep,
There should be no way that he manages to escape, and no. So it's a round that's won by Crazy Raccoon. Well, it's a round that's won by Neth, but they lose every single player and they use multiple ultimates. So again, I'm talking about rounds that they can recreate. I don't think that's one of them.
It's great to have that ability, but you have to have the protocols in place. It's just, yeah, if you're in that position where you can get the plant in, you've got a nice ultimate with the Viper's Pit. So take us positions like this, Addy's just not expecting him in this spot. Decision making has been sharp in some rounds, questionable in the others, especially when things start to hit the fan just a little bit more. Sassy trying to see if he can catch players in the slow.
Nice combo.
You see a lot of those combos with the Viper, the snake bites as well, right? So it's just something that's really going to temper Crazy Raccoon, at least to begin with. Yet again, FRZ pushed up on A. Has the toxic screen at least to help him out if he needs to disengage. He's not pushing past it. Because you have 3 players over from Vikings. They're happy to hold on to this site, and it's not been that bad on the defense.
You have so much information. Why wouldn't they gamble players at this point? They've already managed to find out that there's nobody pushing on A. Now Munchkin able to take that shot. Okay, GTN. That was dirty. That was a nice shot. The res is coming through on the other side. Sassy, no way he manages to get away with that. And the best thing is, he's also got his ultimate. The spam coming through isn't going to find anything, but he instead will be able to pop that Hunter's Fury and clear out Neth, bringing this round back from the fray. Turning it into a 5 versus 3 now. This duel could be everything. Now the patience of FRZ actually means he's going to get the kill for free. He picks off Munchkin, and although there's afterplant utility coming through, it doesn't look like it's worked at all, unless that was some counter utility that had been thrown out. It hasn't denied them, and Ade realizes there's nothing he can do at this point. He's just hoping the snake bites can do something for him here, but Vikings are going to pull through the round again.
FRZ, just that first kill, playing passively, playing off. Really wasn't expected to be pushed there, but it just buys so much time for the rest of Vikings. And it's these kind of like major macro plays of the map that are working out. Just, all right, we can push FRZ up on A. Is there nobody there in the first 10 to 15 seconds? They're probably leaning towards B at this very point. GTN, just the op as well, now starting to come online. The composure from Sassy's been the difference here.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of players in most of the scenarios he's been in would just panic I feel like you're seeing the experience he has within the server of just like, okay, I've narrowly escaped death, but I'm already thinking about what I'm going to be doing next. And that's the most important thing for them here. And, well, if GTN's going to land all the shots they're given, FRZ, I think, has stopped overextending, which I think was one of the issues we saw in the first half when things started to go a bit wrong, was he was trying to take the map into his own hands. Now he's acting as that lurk player, as that player that's going to just be in your back and be an irritation. And his timing on that flank was perfect, because it destroyed every plan they had.
Yeah, and we're now seeing the timeout on the side of Crazy Raccoon. The last one worked out very, very well when they were attacking. Managed to turn it around in a position where Vikings were looking a dominant force. Like, this series feels like, this map even just feels like it's been going for hours at this point, because we've had various different arcs at this point. Like Vikings starting off strong, and Crazy Raccoon coming back into it, then a bit of a trade, and then just the difference of experience. I feel Sassy just being that integral role to allow GTN and FRZ to do what they need to do. They've felt a bit more comfortable on the defense, being able to push up and really not get punished at all.
I think that's been the issue. I feel like Crazy Raccoon have a plan at the beginning of the round. They all look to opt into that plan, and they haven't left anybody to sort of catch the stragglers that are there for Vikings. I think they've got away with something that I think other teams would punish. And I'm not sure that, like, going forward into even the next map, if you can allow a lurker on a map like Haven, you've lost already. Like, that's game over. So I'm even just thinking forward for Crazy Raccoon, that considering this is their map choice, there have been clear problems already.
I even think just this kind of toxic screen is a lot more aggressive. It's not a, we're just going to put it horizontally on the defense and play retake. This is, we're going to try and contest for space a little bit more. That's why Crazy Raccoon are taking this slow. Maybe that was one of the things that they spoke about. And they're baiting out utility again. That's the nice thing. Like, Aldron already been used. It's sort of given up some information to Munchkin. Don't know how many other players they saw. The problem is that the operator on B is pretty much looking in, it sees nothing. All of the information that Vikings need is there.
Also, the buy from Crazy Raccoon stinks. So they're going to need someone to be a hero. Luckily, Fisker might have just done that. He goes swinging. Sudakas is there for the trade, and they don't know that Sassy is here. He's still just hiding in the back lines. This time they are watching for the flank. The problem, though, is that there's 3 players currently stacked within the A side. The faster rotation from the Vikings leaves this as a very tough spot, and in fact, they're not ready for these swing peaks. If anything, at this stage, I feel like Crazy Raccoon have to back off.
Might not even be given that opportunity. Stegas is still holding on to this high ground. This toxic screen is just doing what they want it to do. It's forcing Crazy Raccoon into these positions, but now it's no longer going to be a factor at this point. 2 versus 3 now. Resurrect is available for Neff, but this close hold from Vikings, actually, never mind. They think it's another site. They're moving away.
Yeah, there's so little time left, though. The second they hear this, there's going to be a rotation. I am very surprised that Neth is currently holding the Stinger. Like, this is not the gun that you want to be having. And Ade going down, he now has to pull off maybe the greatest clutch you've ever seen with this weapon. I know Lothar might have a smile if he starts going for a few little burst plays, but I think the chances of that are slim to none. Hits the dink on the first. There are actually some tacked players. There is absolutely no way, and Sassy is going to clear him out before that gets too dangerous. Vikings are going to take themselves the first map, their opponent's choice, and go on to their choice.
It's a great return to form. This is what you wanted to see.
The
hype around Team Vikings going into Reykjavik. Ever since then, it's been off a cliff. They didn't even make Berlin. They got knocked out from the playoffs from Van Liberty and Viva Keat, the 2 teams that ended up going to Berlin in their stead. So this is a great response. The problem is we haven't really seen an adjustment and a change. It's more of what we saw from Team Vikings, but working in a much more focused capacity. They're not going off the wall with like a KO, for example. It's, we know what we're best at, we know what we're comfortable on. We'll just focus on that and make sure that our protocols are stronger. Was it comprehensive? Not really, but it did the job, and I think that's a huge thing for this first map.
Yeah, I think as well that one of the things that I'm happy about, at least, is that we're starting to see some clearer roles coming through for the side of Vikings. Like, they put the players where I want to see them played, rather than, hey, we're going to throw in an Omen on nice. Like, I don't need to see those wild cards. Like, I think they've got the players. There's a reason that this roster is stuck together for such a long time. So on the other side of things, I am now starting to worry a little bit, because it looks like Crazy Raccoon, they tried to go out of the box. The idea from them definitely wasn't too much of a bad one. It's, again, just like the execution, like sometimes silly mistakes, sometimes whatever that was. And I'm getting flashbacks to what we saw in some of their opening matches last time, where Okay, sure, they haven't like switched their jet to play a Sky for the day, but I didn't necessarily see the impact from KO. And I'm still seeing those sloppy mistakes.
And also, like, Munchkin still got a lot of kills in the end. Like, if you put him on a duelist, for example, would that have been better? Would that utility have been better placed? Because it really did feel it. I think it was just the abilities that was the difference for the most part. And I think as the series and the map went on, those sort of scrappy moments were just held a bit better from Vikings. Like you sort of mentioned, like Sassy just being composed enough to get res and not be killed by Hunter's Fury. That's
not panic.
Dedicated to taking him out and trading it, and then using a Hunter's Fury himself and still getting a kill. I think that round, especially when we saw Crazy Raccoon pushing through to Kitchen, getting stuck there, and get wall bang from Sassy, I think that was the point where the mental had just gone, because Vikings had control at that point.
I think as well, just to see Sassy back on form, it's good. Like, it's one of those things where, realistically, I think we've always expected him to be one of those sort of world-class players that can compete with the best of the best. He came in today, I think you've even got the stats there, 29 kills in his first map. Didn't look like he really broke a sweat. Sure, the game maybe would have been a little bit closer than they liked, especially after the first half, Ryan, but honestly, it was a decent performance.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens on Haven as well, because it's not like they're going on to Breeze, for example, where they have to change things up and bring something new to the table. Perhaps Haven, they can play what they did at the start of the year, playing all the way back into January, Feb, where they won Masters 1 in Brazil.
Yeah.
They can just go with that, and Crazy Raccoon, we've already sort of seen them bring out that KO, like they want to try and throw a few curveballs, but it didn't really seem to have much impact on Vikings. It's a very cliche saying, but they were focused on their own game, and I think the KO was a non-factor in the end.
Well, we will see if Crazy Raccoon can bring this back, because there's still definitely a map or two to go. We're going to head off to a break, but we'll be back with the desk after that.
Huh. Forward. Three concurrent viewers. Who the fuck is watching? At least comment to karo. Now it's 2.
Well, Team Vikings' long-awaited return to an international stage certainly did not disappoint. They lead 1-0 in this series against the Crazy Raccoon. I'm back on the desk with Jess and Bala. 6-6 at the half, but a strong finish from the Brazilians.
Yeah, the second half was nice from them. And it got kind of loud in here once they started
really
rolling.
loud,
It made me kind of happy because it reminded me of Reykjavik. I see Sassy smiling over there. It makes me feel nice inside seeing them back on the stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were sort of speculating on the pre-desk, where is Sassy sitting? Where is the man now? Is he on the Sova? Is he on the jet? And guess what? He went back on the Sova very, very nicely. I think I'm putting that as an understatement on the desk here.
I mean, of course, Tom and Ryan, who love Sassy so much. I don't know why, but he definitely had a storm of a performance here against Crazy Raccoon on Icebox, and so impactful, Bala, for this team.
Yeah, I think whenever you remember literally every single Sova ult, every single Hunter's Fury from that map, you know that he had an impact, because it felt like every time that Neth went for a res, Sassy was there with the Hunter's Fury in his face. Like, literally, it was so good, and honestly, took that final round for them as well. This was, in my mind, the play of the map for sure.
Absolutely.
I didn't even know this wall could be spammed.
I didn't either, yeah.
I wondered what had happened at that point, because I knew that obviously he'd been spotted, but I wondered where the wallbang came from. Where was he positioned to be able to take advantage of that? Big thing for me as well, Sassy, I believe round 21 when he hits the Hunter's Fury back and goes, you can't do it, I can do it better. And he puts it on show, and I'm like, oh, the BM.
One of the reasons he's so good at that, though, is the repositioning. You saw after that wallbang, he backs all the way up, so he has a diagonal angle on that hallway so nobody can escape. And there was the miss slow by Nat that, you know, we won't talk about that one. But
I mean, this is a big statement from Vikings. You know, people were pretty critical of them after Reykjavik missing out Masters Berlin as as well. And Bala, we had some questions on whether they were going to iron out their old mistakes. Do you feel like they have after Icebox?
Oh, I said, you know, seeing Icebox was going to answer that for me, but I don't really think it did, right? Because now I'm thinking about what's coming up next. Yes, I like to see Saucy obviously play, but that was a map that he was already doing it. The one thing was the Omen that they were picking on Icebox on top of the Viper wasn't there, obviously. But now that I actually saw it in action, I'm like, is it really going to make a difference for them on the rest of the maps too?
Yeah, exactly right. The big thing for me moving forward is that, okay, maybe they've solidified the roles a little bit more. That's what I'm going to be looking for, is they look a little bit more confident. They look more comfortable. And yes, okay, maybe it's a baby step compared to what happened last time. It's also the first map we're seeing them in. But not only that, but they've cleared things up, at least in my mind, when it comes to roles, when it comes to those agents. And that's a nice baby step moving forward. Map number 1, we still got plenty to go.
Well, we saw a lot of funky stuff on that map. I can't wait to see what Sean's been cooking up over at the Telestrator War.
Thank you so much, Yensu. Yes, I have a really cool round that just shows how different the approach is from both of these teams. So first of all, we have Crazy Raccoon on defense, and then we have Vikings on attack. I want to draw attention to how synergized and how just well coordinated the Crazy Raccoon push is in comparison to how reactive and loose the response is that Vikings has. So before we start the clip, I'm just going to draw attention to a couple things that are happening across the map. We have the Viper wall coming in on attack, as well as a poison orb that's going to go in mid, the standard one that you always see. So this wall denies vision from the B player, and you can see meanwhile at B, this Viper has put the orb on the plant spot. Why has she done that? Because there's 4 people over here at the A site. So she knows this is a retake on the B site, and I'm going to leave the orb there for when I have to fall back in the future. So going through the round a little bit more here, you can see the orb is now being thrown into mid, but this is now at the A site. This is the Crazy Raccoon push that I was talking about. So this is going to get wild here, guys. We have the KO flash in hand, obviously, and then you're gonna have a recon hit this wall that he's aiming at. So you have the choice whether you want to break the recon dart and get flashed, or you just get flashed and you don't break the recon dart, and this push is still happening regardless. The Sage is going to put a wall on the ground right in front of this KO, and it's going to give 3 people a pathway up onto Belt, and the Sova is going to dot the I's and cross the D's and get on top of pipes. So you can see there, Fisker is taking the lead right there. The recon is on the back wall. The flash went in. You can see the spacing is phenomenal with these players. And if you look at the mini-map actually right now, you can see the Sage wall is down right there, which allowed all 3 of these players to come on Belt. Meanwhile, the Sova has hopped on pipes and is holding this main entrance for them. Now, this actually all goes wrong because they overstay their welcome, right? But look at the reactive play from GTN. This is where the round changes drastically. He has a lot of freedom in this position with the Bladestorm as well. He uptraps over his own teammates' poison orb smoke in mid. This gives him all of the info that Boiler is clear. In addition to this, he's about to clear out the kitchen. So he knows 3 to 4 people are pushing A, and he can get an insane flank. And he hops on this right away. So he's clearing out all of these angles, making sure no one's lurking in mid on him, and he's immediately walking into this. You can actually see on the minimap, the only player left with him at this point is the Sage, and the Sage has the spike. So the Sage has to play super passive, not get pushed on from any of these angles, and watch how she ends up following. Well, it ends up happening after the 2 frags, but GTN's going to get 2 frags here on this flank, one of which is a completely unaware Sova. And this is part of the problem with Crazy Raccoon throughout this map. They had great initial takes, but they fell apart in the late round. And here's the rotation from Sage coming in when GTN gets those frags. You can see the wall goes down to allow them safe passage into this A site. And even though Ada had the wall for the retake, it's not enough. Isn't enough to stop the 2v1 defuse from being denied. And guys, this right here is why Vikings is going to take the series. Their adaptive play throughout this game really, really impressed me. So I'm curious what you guys think back on the desk.
Wow, that's a big compliment from the one and only, the man himself, Sean Gers. He's backing Vikings all the way. But we got to talk about the next map because Vikings, they have to win this map if they want to
Come on,
take
man.
the series 2-0.
तीन
And that is going to be Haven.
बस कुछ
But
पीने के
before we
लिए
kind
गया
of
था।
dive into it,
गलत बात है।
if you look at the team comps that both teams have played in the last 1 or 2 times, Bala, we might not get any Astras. What do you make of that?
Yeah, that was not what I expected coming into Champions, you know? That really wasn't, and was our problem that we already spoke about at the beginning of the series coming into this for Vikings. And Crazy Raccoon, you know, they threw out the brim last time. It worked for them. So
I loved that. Yeah.
if it works, don't fix it. But honestly, you got to start moving and adapting to the times.
Yeah, I really don't think, unless Vikings is stuck in their own old ways, they're going to bring out their Omen again. I don't believe that that's something they want to replicate over and over and over again. We've already seen change on their icebox. I guarantee with the months and months we've had since August, there will be a different composition. What it will be is a nice little surprise. And I know once we get into that agent select, it'll be nice. But let us not forget, I'm going to set some precedents here.
Yeah.
Vikings, last time they played this map, yes, okay, maybe an old sort of iteration, they thrash Vivo Key. Let us not forget that. So, good map. I guess win ability here for them.
We're just gonna head into the Prime Gaming Agent Select and letting you guys know the Medusa is coming in for Bazi, I believe, for this map. So we can at least expect a Cypher or a Killjoy here.
Yeah, and what we can also expect is no Sova, right? Because that's what Bazi plays. That also means they probably will bring in the Sky like always, but
yes, we have
just shut up and watch.
This is Astra and Breach, and we're seeing literally the comps that we saw from Vision Strikers in full sense. So literally, they saw that this morning, they're like, I want to play like that. That was cool.
Yeah. Let's go. They caught up with the meta. And Jess, like you said, this was the biggest criticism of a team like Vikings. This is great.
They themselves criticized themselves about the fact that they were 3 to 4 months behind everyone all the time. Guess what? They've caught up. I won't say that will show the map necessarily, but it's shown that they've at least fixed compositionally what they need to do to get there. Baby steps. Baby steps.
Well, I'm very excited for this map, but of course, the Crazy Raccoon, they have to win here if they want to stretch it out to map 3. Ryan and Tom, take it away.
Well, thank you very much to Sean Gers and, of course,
everyone else.
Yeah. But we've got some meta comps actually coming through here. We were maybe expecting like a Primi, like looking at some of the old ones, or even an Omen, but I guess Vikings, they've stepped up with the times.
Yeah, the opportunities are endless. What I like is that you do have sort of what's clearly forming as a meta right now, because we saw like the Breach and Sky from Vision Strikers and Full Sense before. I like this matchup because they're pretty much identical versus a Sky and a Sova. Yeah, they're the differences, and usually they're supplementary of each other. You don't tend to see one instead of the other all that much. It's nice to see a lot of Breach though. I feel like because it's in Berlin as well, it's like a style, and the fact that it's become globally meta on a map like this warms my heart.
Well, one of the things that frustrated me a lot last tournament was that Haven weirdly kind of moved on to a Sky throughout the majority of the tournament when it didn't really make sense. He's that aggressive jet, and Munchkin had taken that away from him. It seems like Munchkin's now looked to adapt his own style. We've seen a KO in the first map, now moving on to a Sova in the second, so I'm expecting big things from him here, because I think he showed that at least individually, it didn't matter what agent he was playing.
The only concern is he's only played it once in an official ever. Sassy, it's the first time he's played Breach, and not a bad start. The 2 kills flashing in there, just actually get the setup on Sadak. It's Prime Gaming Flawless. We saw few and far between of those on Icebox. We're starting with one straight away for Vikings.
Yeah, that is one hell of a confident start. I know that Sassy said in the press conference yesterday he learned all of his Sova stuff from Average Jonas. I want to know who he learned his Breach from.
He's a good Breach player to watch. Who do you reckon? I remember Elementrix. I don't know how much he streams at the moment.
My favorite's always going to be Leo.
Yeah.
I'm a big Leo fan. But then again, I like watching Leo on any agent because he's one of my favorite players.
I liked watching Bonka's Breach. It's a shame that...
let's move on from now on.
It's unfortunate timing that Breach has become meta now, is all I'll say.
Oh dear Lord. Well, it's a solid start at least from the Brazilian side. For the attack here...
Wait. Munchkin just managed to make his way in very quickly. Still, FRZ managed to get the kill, but it was just a gap. And it's now a bit of a panic stack coming through. I mean, GTN is going to hear all of this clumping, and FRZ ready to face.
Was that an attempt at a lurking Sova? I don't think those words have ever left my mouth before, but you know what? I'm intrigued by it. I don't know if that will continue to happen in the buy rounds, considering the utility he's likely to have. Although, again, even just 2 kills in this round for Crazy Raccoon would be a pretty decent one. We saw the likelihood of clean rounds throughout the matchup. I think in the last map we had 1. We've already had 1 in this one, but realistically, I'm not sure.
Red one is attacking, blue one is defending.
Is open. It's not really going to be contested all that much. And there's obviously utility that's going to come online. Like Sassy does have that foot line ready. It's going to be used early. And it's a case of just running in at this point. It's just that utility used early. Now they just got to kind of face it. And I don't really think Sassy was expecting that kind of play, but with that Bulldog, it still works out in the end. I don't think it should have done, though.
No, it definitely shouldn't. He should have been dead. But, you know, Sassy's so calm, he just looks into his opponent's eyes and they start to panic. 2-0, 4 players alive. A few shields, bit of utility spent, but I don't think Vikings are going to be too bothered about that one. And now we need to see the response, because honestly, if we get another, like, quick start from the Vikings and it takes Crazy Raccoon to build back in, I don't think they're going to build back in. Like, I would not feel confident in their ability to do that after the last map. And we've seen it before where this team has crumbled on the stage. I hate to say it, but that has been a running theme of Crazy Raccoon.
And you were expecting them to work on that in that time, right? They knew after Berlin that they would be here. It's the sort of team with the most points from the Japanese region. And we just wanted to see what adaptations they make, and like it's really just been agent changes, and that's really been it. Like composite, like the protocols of it, it's been very shallow. It's just we put Munchkin on a different agent. That is the only real change to an extent.
Yeah, and I believe as well that he's actually calling for the team. So if he's calling and being the only adaptation and having to play new agents,
right, the theme tune, sing the theme tune. Yeah.
It's kind of a lot on his plate. So we'll see how it goes in this map. Slower start from them again. An aggressive push already coming up on the defensive side. They've got C Long pretty much on lock, and although it might be their Astra player, it means that elsewhere they're just spotting. GTN already landing the shot and spotting the jet on the other side. Just gonna fall
24 एक गोली body पे पड़ा इसके.
Yeah, I'm gonna reaggress a little bit. That's something that we did see to an extent from Vikings on their attack. Just checking sewers, not gonna see much. I mean, if it ends up on the B side, that's still quite nice for Vikings, considering they have a lot of control centrally. They still have that alarm bot in Garage, which is going to have that impact. Sassy using that utility to stall, and Sadak, the Nano Swarm, the stun combo, completely rips apart Visca.
Yeah, and he was the only one that entered the site. The rest of the team a little bit delayed, looking to play that almost old school B-site style. The timing could work nicely though for Munchkin. He's managed to sneak his way through, but again, the duel is going to go the way of Vikings, leaving them with a man advantage. Sassy low and no utility online, but he still manages to hit the timing. And now he's got that Rolling Thunder, as you mentioned. He could decide just to use it here and basically end this round in his track. Medusa is screwed here, surely, but he somehow still survives.
No.
As well. It's left into the 1 versus 1, and only a pistol available for FRZ. Are they already going to look to pull him off the spike with the rifle in hand? You have to favor him here, just playing that time, lurking back further, and there should be no chance here for FRZ. He's just going to hope to try and stick this one all the way. Actually, lands the shot at least, and he's going to connect. Does he have time to get the diffuser? I think he does as well. There's no way Vikings should have won that round, but somehow FRZ brings it home.
I'm going to go to bed. I'll see you guys later. I need that. Just going about to lay down at this point. It's one of those moments where I'm thinking like Sassy, like he gets that Rolling Thunder online. I was like, he doesn't really need to use it at this point. It seems comfortable. Then he still goes down. Sassy with the Bulldog kill, backs off. He's like 20 HP. FRZ plays that perfectly. You can't say any better than that. The fact the Crazy Raccoon on the site is just, they get Rolling Thundered and they still get a kill.
That's not a camo.
Heartbreaking.
The fact is, with the purchase as well, this round shouldn't have even been particularly close. That was the bonus for Vikings. They did the majority of their damage with a Bulldog, for God's sake. That was a 10 HP player in the form of Sassy that basically put them in the ground. And then FRZ only had a pistol to start with to actually fight that one back. So it's a huge economic boost for the side of Vikings as they now come in with a flawless purchase. And you look on the other side, sure, they at least have Medusa, who again, I feel like he was one of the players that at least last year in the tournament, Ryan, he looked pretty good for Crazy Raccoon, but he doesn't start on a lot of maps.
Yeah, that's always the issue when you have a 6-player roster. I mean, it's fairly common, like Vision Strikers have the same, but even then you're looking in positions where like Lakia, an insane player that we've seen barely playing on that side, right? It's just, some teams are on board with it, but I guess as a professional player, you just want to play as much as possible, and if you're everybody else on the team, you have to adapt with new players coming in and out on the roster depending on what maps. It just breaks any momentum that you can get. Oh, Munchkin already going down, Recon Dart isn't going to be available, and even then, when it was used, Sassy cleared it up instantly. There's so much utility here that's just going to stonewall Crazy Raccoon as they make their way in onto the site. And this position from Steakcast, it's just hard to even peek at this point. Just stuns, aftershocks. Clean, another flawless Prime Gaming. It's just those kind of moments where, like Vikings now, I feel that they've just turned it up, and what a time to do it.
I'm starting to worry a little bit watching the way that Munchkin is currently playing Sova, because on all the other agents that we see him play, like we've seen him play Sky in the past on the last map, he was playing under the KO. I feel like there's much more of an opportunity for him to quote unquote initiate. Whereas
98,000 viewers on
Twitch.
Twitch.
You're using your utility to make space for other people to make a move. Instead, that's now, I think, the second time we've seen him just walked into the B side, get headshotted, and then they've just got all of that utility down the ground.
Yesterday.
I'm hoping that that's just eco rounds.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be a running theme, because that's not a way I want to see Sova play.
Because even if it starts to come into the full buys, not only is
How
it
the
not
fuck does
really
that know?
working,
But okay.
but Vikings are going to get a good feel that that is something that's consistently happening. Like, the lurk is nice if you can have like a Killjoy doing it, especially on attack, because your
I'm
utility,
out.
if you die early or not, it's not really pivotal to the rest of the round. If you lose your Sova first, you lose your direction.
Yeah. I think as well, maybe he will sell something and repurchase. I don't think he actually has enough credits to buy his drone, which I feel like
Doesn't need it. He is the drone.
There's one on the left. It's like, yeah, but you're dead, bud. Not the most useful thing in the world. We'll see. It might develop in a different stance. On the other side of things, though, Vikings are off to a flying start. Like, we are seeing the individual players pop off. We are seeing them with decent utility usage, space denial. Like, these are the sort of things that I want to see from Vikings, and although it comes at the opposite side of the scale for Crazy Raccoon, where I'm like, oh god, it's happening again.
Yeah.
It's a positive sign for Vikings, because as I said, in their group, there are real opportunities for them to make it to a playoffs. And one of the other things that I don't know if we mentioned it too much, but this team has been together so long that I feel like if they fail at this tournament,
it's done.
That might be the change.
You got Ninjas in Pajamas that are now moving to Brazil
That's
for
true.
next year, right? There's a lot of big orgs that are looking at this because it's an open region. You know, you expected Viva Key to be that sort of super team to come in with players from Vorax and the like, but in the end, Vikings were still dominant for a while. Viva Key came in and response hasn't been quite there, so I'll be interested to see them match up again if it ever happens in this tournament. For Vikings, it's, you know, like it's not a player that you need to get rid of.
He's there again. Sidicast is just taking so much space for the team.
Okay, 4-0.
And it just means that realistically they can start to almost gamble utility elsewhere. They've got so much control with the stars and nano swarms over on the B site. They've then got two players sitting up, and that's not the start you wanted. Well, I was wondering how they were going to utilize the lockdown in this round. They're not.
Now there's a bit of trepidation from Vikings now leaning over to Way, and I like that guiding light, get some information, but Fisker uses that opportunity to line up. That is a really nice grab that comes in from Addy. He's far away from the action, and now he's going to be able to plant the spike now just behind the rest of the team. Neff needs to get this kill here, but Satekas might have a... If he gets down A long, nobody checks him.
Oh no!
Okay.
The timing could be the worst thing in the world. It's a bit of a whip, but he gets away with it. Turned down to just one player. Now he's got at least a bit of utility. The ultimate online to at least try and delay Sadak as much as possible. And while the turret is not really going to help him too much, in fact, he's going to get blasted away to the other side. This now looks like a very unlikely scenario for Sadak to be able to win. Neff looking for that swing out. He is actually going to get tagged up, but with the operator in hand, they're just hoping for a peek, and he is playing this perfectly, delaying as much as possible, and Neff will be able to close the round. Crazy Raccoon, they're on the board, but again, it's never a clean one. Only one player survives.
I think they'll still take it, though, considering
True.
how the round started. Just the decisions, like Fisker just made
Average
up that
combat
space in the
score.
end. Like Vikings, I think, again, overstepped the line a little bit. Kind of, we're in a 5 versus 4. It couldn't work out better when it comes to that utility catching two with a grab. Like, that's realistically not going to happen again. But that's a round that you want to see more. It isn't just like the Munchkin show. Like every other player on that team had a moment to bring that through, and Neff on the breach as well, showing why he picked it in the first place. The util was nice in the post plant.
Shock dart through, attempting to try and destroy some early utility. Don't believe there was as much there as normal, and in fact, Sadak has just decided, you know what? Just going to try and escape out of this one. Use my utility to deny. Quick rotation coming through from Sassy to support. Bit of a whiff though from Fisker. In fact, he's going to get stuck and then caught by Sassy. That has not gone well at all. The man who opened up the last round, but the lurk from Medusa has managed to bring things back into a workable position. The lockdown going to be placed in the corner and he gets away with it. Still though, a 3 versus 3. And actually, there's a counter lockdown instead. Push coming up, hoping to try and garner some space. It's a kill coming through, and Sadak even manages to delay it, meaning, not quite caught, but he will escape. Still, though, a 3 versus 2 for the defenders.
I want to see Addy come down a little bit here, though. There's a bit of space and a lot of time to reset, and now we're starting to see Vikings splinter onto the different sites to see if they get a bit of a feel. Addy
वही regular party.
Perfectly right, but he isn't checking to take us. It's just a
मेरे में चलता नहीं यार अच्छी क्वालिटी में देखिए क्या मतलब
दिसंबर में बहुत कुछ है ना अभी मनी हाइस्ट है फिर वो
तो अगर टीवी में लगा लो तो
टीवी में तो फुल स्पीड पे चलेगा ना टीवी पे तो जो क्वालिटी चल सकती है टीवी 4 के चलेगा
नहीं जैसे देख मैं फोन पे नहीं लगाऊंगा लेकिन टीवी पे कनेक्ट लगा लूंगा
हाँ ठीक है चलेगा ना क्यों नहीं चलेगा
फिर ऐसा तो नहीं कि स्क्रीन ज्यादा हो जाएगी
नहीं ऐसा कुछ नहीं वो तेरा अकाउंट 1 महीने के लिए तेरे पास है जो उखाड़ना है उखाड़ उसके साथ
तो मतलब एक ही स्क्रीन पे चलेगा या तो फोन पे या तो टीवी
हाँ या तो तू फोन पे चला या तो टीवी पे चला एक टाइम पे
अच्छा
वो एक तेरा प्रोफाइल तेरा बन गया है ठीक है उस प्रोफाइल से जो तो स्क्रीन पे टीवी पे चला ले या फिर अपने उस पे चला ले फोन पे
अच्छा
brings to the main stage, but Vikings have been decent at like shutting down any responses. Like,
मैंने भेजा पाती
a couple of rounds here or there for RYZEN.
तू VCT स्ट्रीम कर रहा है
मैं फ्री बैठा हूँ चलो तो करते क्या जा रहा देखते क्या होता है मैं तो वैसे भी देख ही रहा था मतलब चलो ठीक है स्ट्रीम ही कर दो क्या जा रहा
तो तेरे को वो नहीं लगेगा कॉपीराइट नहीं लगेगा उसका
लगाने तो YouTube पे कर रहा हूँ ना ट्विच पे थोड़ी ना कर रहा है
फिर भी तेरा इतना कुछ अगर उन्हें बैन कर दिया तो
वीडियो डाउन करेंगे ना एक ही बार वार्निंग तो रहती है 2 वार्निंग रहता है ना
हाँ
तो मेरे पे तो एक बार भी वार्निंग नहीं लगा वार्निंग देना तो और अगर कुछ नहीं लगा तो पूरा का पूरा करूंगा 12 तक अरे बढ़िया देख मुझे को मैं तो वैसे भी देखने ही वाला था स्ट्रीम का तो क्या जा रहा है वैसे भी वाइकिंग्स वाले बैंड बजा के बैठे हुए हैं
क्या
वाइकिंग्स और उसका है ना क्रेजी रैकून का
हाँ
वाइकिंग्स ने मैच चोट के रखी हुई है
अच्छा अरे मैं देख नहीं पा रहा मैं बाहर था अभी तो आया
वाइकिंग्स ने माँ बहने करके रखी हुई है भाई भाई एक बंदे ने 1v4 निकाल दिया उनके पास सब कुछ था क्राउड साला बोलता है रैंक्ड खेल रहे हैं ये लोग
And I think this buy-up that's coming up next is super important for them to get a hold of.
उनका मेन मैच तो परसों से परसों नहीं कल रात में 1:30 बजे सेंटिनल्स का फिर उसके बाद टीम लिक्विड का है
6-1 up, financially going to be in a much better position.
बाकी तो और कोई टीम है भी नहीं C9 पता नहीं कहाँ से आ गया C9 का तो इतना बुरा हाल है पहली बार में जाएगा साला हरामी
Like the timing there a little bit better, both players stunned on the back of the site, you have a couple of entry kills and a potential after plant with some guns. Instead they don't face off of it and it's all too easy after that for the remaining players just to clear things up. So I can see what Crazy Raccoon are trying to do, it just is not working.
Vikings, you just want to see that clinical side come out of it, and Munchkin there has had that response. Now it's just the rest of the round now for Crazy Raccoon. What decision do they make?
जाता हूँ ना मैं अभी घर आया थोड़ा
अरे
to the C hit, the C splits. Tekas is playing in on tunnel, but sort of realised that it might be a good move to get out of there. There is a cosmic divide that might help lead the way for Crazy Raccoon onto this site. The rolling thunder for Sassy is one of the reasons why they're holding on.
Yeah, they are ready to just try and stun them as they enter the site, and look how aggressive they're being. They haven't actually spotted Fisker though. Are they going to expect him in this smoke? Absolutely not. He just manages to survive and cause them problems, but they've pushed back in.
99,900.
Still looking to try and make their move, and I'm a little bit worried for Sassy hiding in this corner. He's been stunned up, and nobody's checked it. And the second this goes down, it could be the Ember Munchkin with a last-second turn. A big round from him individually. 3 kills coming up, and FRZ, well, the last clutch was unlikely. Let's see what he can do here.
Not gonna happen.
You never know. You just never really know with these two teams, to be fair. It's not expected. Now FRZ just... Crazy Raccoon just not showing up anything. They know they're just keeping this money in order. It's good. It's not flawless because Medusa was caught out on that lurk from FRZ of all players as well. The wrap round is slowly coming in. Munchkin was the one to open the site, and now he's the one at the back as well to try and wrap around, but it's not really going to have that impact. Fisker is there to clear it off the back of some nice util. And yet again, like Crazy Raccoon, like you said, the ideas are good. The execution is iffy in places. But there needs to be follow-up here, because Vikings' money hasn't really been contested all that much. They should still have a buy coming up.
Yeah, I'd be blown away if they did.
Odin as well.
Well, I know where he's going. He's been spamming through that garage wall every single round with a rifle, so there'll be absolutely no surprise for me if we're going to see that with the Odin. And again, GTN still with an operator. I feel like this is going to be contested early. See, is he going to get anything off it? Good fault line.
Odin.
Grab well as well, so not
somewhere on the map. Odin
space goes for free almost to the side of Crazy Raccoon.
Good amount of utility use from Addy as well. Just to grab, like you mentioned, 2 stars handy. Maybe some been dissipating and coming to roll on back as this A execute is going to be fairly quick. It's a bit more of a hold off as well. GTN with the op. Actually takes a fire just on that
15 minutes more.
Staying in that position, Smokefit also has some other Astra utility to help. The Aldrone trying to give up his position so Sassy can lurk in. They don't know he's here.
Oh, not again. He manages to just get the timing so right, but it is the trades this time from Crazy Raccoon that work out.
Oh, सुने ना तो कभी जल्दी चालू हो सकता है मतलब 1:30 बजे का schedule है तो 1:30 बजे ही चालू होगा या फिर
to the next round. A much better execution, and it does lead back to what was said on the desk. These executions from Crazy Raccoon pretty decent. It's where they have to adapt on the fly where things go a little bit wrong, but this was almost a picture-perfect round from them.
They can just face up against these Vikings players on the site, especially like GTN was one of the first to back out because he knew that he'd give away his position with the operator. Like, I need to clearly show myself, go off of the site so players like Sassy can learn. Yeah. There have been occasions where Crazy Raccoon haven't cleared some of these angles, but they're getting a little bit wiser. Munchkin especially, like clearing some of these ratty angles that Sassy's been playing from. In the cubby over on the C site, over just on the boosted box.
Medusa's having a good time at least. He finally gets into the server. And he will escape just before. I was a little bit worried that he was gonna, you know, doing some tactical crouches and ends up actually getting killed by the spike, but not a problem for them here.
Timeout instantly coming in after that. We're gonna just sit in silence. It's for Vikings this time. And it is the same as the last map, like just a strong start, and then Crazy Raccoon towards the end, from round 6 to 12, start to come back into it a little bit. You're looking at this as well, like Team Secret are sat in their hotel, in their sort of rooms, watching this game, knowing it's likely that they might end up against one of these two teams. Like, I'd say they're likely to lose against Gambit. You never really know, but a team that wasn't at Masters Berlin, unfortunately, for reasons out of their control, going up against the team that ended up winning it.
Yeah.
Expectations are on Gambit to perform in that matchup. But that second spot in the group, it's these two teams are Secret.
Well, that's the other thing as well, though, is that like we saw again from the press conference from the guys at Secret, they were saying that first few days a lot of teams didn't even seem like there was a point in scrimming them. They were maybe a little bit cocky, played them a few times, and then it was everybody else requesting them to actually play some matches. And I think we've had some positive, sort of, I think it was Shazam as well, saying that he was pleasantly surprised when playing against the Vikings, and I think that was something that was very common at the previous event. It's just been more of the local opposition for Vikings that they've actually struggled against, which maybe that's a good sign for them coming into this tournament now that they've made it here. And as said, like, this is similar to what we had last time with Envy's group. There's a clear favorite, but then the other spot is wide open. We don't know who to expect to get through. But Vikings still looking good for now. But again, they've sort of slowed off a bit. I also think that Crazy Raccoon is starting to realize that, okay, these mid-fights, these battles further forward have not been working out so well. Let's try and be a little bit more strategical in towards these early A fights. And, well, the same for C, because in the early rounds, we saw how much control was available to Vikings.
This time, no, they were using the same utility to grab, used very early from Addy over on C-Long, but FRZ continuing to push. This is the area that Medusa struggled with the most, just holding on for A1B, see if anything else coming in. You have that operator sort of sat there from GTN watching sewers. So I don't think Crazy Raccoon at this point realized that they are running into a pretty scary stack of utility and stall when you're looking at a Breach, a Killjoy, and an Astra, but it's Highline from A. B just has utility on it, they can play retake if they need. These early rounds, they feel like boxed into mid a little bit. Like they can't really spread out. Vikings have a good idea on where these attackers are roughly going to be. They can just wait out time. They're slowing this right down.
This is what worries me. These are the calls that sometimes cause some issues again. We're going to see some solid utility though. Sudicast is stuck in the corner of Visca. He's just going to wipe them both out. They've set this man up and he has succeeded. The utility that's coming over the last few rounds from Crazy Raccoon has been solid, and now Medusa's just waiting. That knife in the back. Sure, FRZ is going to find a kill, but at this stage, I'm looking at this round again, Ryan, and saying that it's already over.
I don't think it was a good audience.
Feels that way for Vikings as well. Like they're slowly backing out, meandering, and
not trying to engage.
And now the money's going to start to sweat. Like GTN having buying the op 2 rounds in a row. I don't imagine it's going to be good for him. He might be able to get Bladestorm online soon.
Yeah.
But the response has been there from Crazy Raccoon again. Like you look at them and go, this is a team that beat Havan Liberty. They scared Gambit on a map. I really don't think you could say any more than that. And a team that has been consistently strong and relatively dominant, I'd say, in the Japanese region, which is constantly growing.
Yeah.
Like even from the signings today, we're seeing like Suggest, I think it was, moving away from Newturn to play on a Japanese team, right? So this is a region that is about to get very strong. A lot of Korean players moving over as well. Crazy Raccoon is still the top team in that region.
Yeah, they've got the investment, they've got the backing, they've got the fan base. I think that's the thing that excites me most, is that we have an esport that is popping at the moment in Japan, which is a bit more of a rarity, at least in like TAC FPS side of things. So that was, I believe, not something at least when you go back to the likes of CS, for example, that was never really the case. A few players here and there that have moved over, that's for sure, and well, most of them were playing within Zeta at least previously. This, though, is where I feel like Vikings become more dangerous, looking to get a little bit more aggressive, and now they've found their opener. This is where I need to see a reaction from Crazy Raccoon, Ryan, because when they have their set play, they look great. When it comes to adaptations, not so much.
At least it is Munchkin going down so he can call for his team, just checking their perspectives. It's kind of like Angel does as well. Medusa!
What the fuck?
Oh, okay. That was close.
Would have been a terrible example of them trying to right a few wrongs. And now they're moving over to A. GTN being able to buy up another op at this point. It's a shame really, because you're looking at like Crazy Raccoon pick this round up. You then force Vikings on really tough money going into the last round of this half. Now Fisker now trying to up the tempo. He's full armor, full health. The stun is nice. The follow-up, is it going to be there on the right corner? GTN, he does go down, but FRZ is ready to trade and then some.
He's just going to look to hold his ground. They eventually clear him out, and the lockdown might give them at least a little bit of extra space. But for the remaining defenders, they don't really need to try and overfight. He got the kill. He just got the kill straight through the smoke. That's given them a real opportunity here. Sassy and Sudicast coming from completely different angles. Still a little bit of utility to try and clear them out. And I feel like Sudicast is going to have everything to do looking to try and come in from behind. But I like this. Crazy Raccoon getting aggressive, trying to take the control from in front. And they are spotting that there's no one around this angle. They know that there has to be someone within head of them. Someone coming into the flank. Medusa lands the shot. It's left all onto Sassy. A great recovery in this round from Crazy Raccoon. And again, they're fighting back in this second half.
The improvisation, just getting that kill to bring it to a 2 versus 2, and then pushing a link. The fact that Addy gets in behind Sassy up on the high ground. He was looking back at it a couple of times to see if somebody was going to flank him. Just a late time. FRZ